Welcome to my 4th annual Skin Tint Roundup collaboration with my dear friend Cindy, who has the channel Beyond 50 Skin. Between the two of us, we are bringing you 10 new-ish or new-to-us skin tints. So after you watch this video, make sure to pay Cindy a visit. I will link her channel and her video below. I will also link my skin tint playlist below because over the years I have tested a ton of skin tints. Before we get into it, a little about my skin and what I'm looking for in an everyday skin tint. My 66-year-old skin is really quite dry. Extremely dry in the winter months, less dry in the summer, but still on the dry side. So I am looking for something that offers a little hydration. As far as coverage, I really do prefer anywhere from a light to very light medium coverage. You know, I just want my skin to look like my skin, but better. As far as a finish, anywhere from a natural satin skin-like finish all the way up to glowy. I tend to avoid matte finishes. Matte finishes just seem to suck the life right out of my skin, making my skin look drier and older. All of the products I'm sharing today are fragrance-free, and none of them contain any denatured alcohol, which tends to be a little too drying for my skin. I am applying all of these in the B-roll over my usual skincare, which includes a moisturizer, and I always wear a dedicated standalone SPF, even if the makeup product says it has sunscreen. For testing purposes, I always like to use my Dermatology Broad Spectrum SPF 43. This is untinted and not overly glowy, so this does not affect or alter the coverage or the finish of the skin tint. Anyway, I will be showing you application, blending with my fingers for light coverage, and then trying to build up coverage a little bit with a brush. I will show you how it looks in natural light by a window or outside, and I did not use any powder because I wanted you to see the actual finish of the skin tint. Now, all of these last the usual 6 to 8 hours that I expect out of a skin tint, but you could probably get a little bit longer wear if you did use a powder. Now, I am not ranking these, but I did have one huge fail, which I saved until the last. So stay tuned until the end of the video to find out which skin tint I think you should avoid at all costs. I have been meaning to try the Naked Sundays Beauty Screen Peptide Skin Tint SPF 50 for ages, mostly because I have really enjoyed the Naked Sundays Collagen Glow 100% Mineral SPF 50, especially in the summer since it is water resistant to 80 minutes. However, as I was prepping for this video and I was looking at the Ulta website, this was no longer available. Instead, they have something called the Naked Sunday Beauty Barrier Zinc Priming Lotion SPF 50. Similar packaging, a little bit different color, same claims. Except the new one now has Butyloctyl salicylate. At first, I thought this was discontinued and reformulated with the Butyloctyl salicylate. However, this is still available on the Naked Sundays website. It's just not available at Ulta. Now, Butyloctyl salicylate can be a little bit of a controversial ingredient. It is a sunscreen booster that some companies are using to make their sunscreens a little bit more elegant and lightweight. Now, like I said, it's controversial because it is a chemical, so that's probably why Naked Sundays does not call their new Beauty Barrier Zinc Priming Lotion. They don't say 100% mineral. Now, Butyloctyl salicylate seems to be in a lot of products these days, and it really doesn't bother me. However, on my skin SPF Roundup video a couple of weeks ago, I did get quite a few questions saying I should have mentioned which products contained the Butyloctyl salicylate and which did not. And so I did go back to the description box of my sunscreen Roundup video, and I indicated in the description box which do contain the Butyloctyl salicylate and which do not. Now, I also included an article on Butyloctyl salicylate so you can do your own research. Having said all that, I am sort of curious to compare the new Beauty Barrier Zinc Priming Lotion to the original Collagen Glow to see what the difference is. So I finally picked up the beauty screen during Ulta's 21 Days of Beauty at 50% off. Normally this is $38 for 1 ounce. However, I do think I still have a 15% discount code for the Naked Sundays website. If I do, I will make sure to link it in the description box below. Anyway, this does come in 15 shades, and I picked up the shade 2.5 Light Neutral. Let me show you the consistency. It is a very thin, serum-y texture. Naked Sundays claims that this lightweight tint is bursting with skin-boosting peptides and antioxidants. Protects against UVA, UVB, blue light, and infrared with its non-nano mineral SPF filters. Now this is water resistant to 80 minutes, which is great. I will say they do seem to hype up the peptides quite a bit. However, there was only 1 peptide and it was fairly low on the ingredient list. Now it does have lovely hydrators such as polyglutamic acid, bisabolol, squalane, and allantoin. It also contains butyloctyl salicylate. So again, do your own research. This feels beautifully lightweight, silky, and moisturizing as I blend it into my skin. It does blend really easily with fingers for light coverage. And then I can build it up to closer to medium with a brush. It is very smoothing. It does not accentuate pores, dry patches, or wrinkles. It is a little shiny and tacky at first. It does take a few minutes to absorb and set down to a really pretty radiant glow. Overall, I do think the Beauty Screen is a lovely tint. It has really natural looking coverage and a really pretty radiant finish. However, shade 2.5, which is supposed to be neutral, is not neutral on my skin tone. I don't know if you could tell on camera, but it is definitely pulling too warm on me. You know, it's not horrible, but it's just warm enough to bother me. It might work a little bit better in the summer when my skin does pick up just a little bit more warmth. Next up is the Live Tinted Hueguard Skin Tint with SPF 50. You know, Live Tinted did send me both their Live Tinted Hueguard Glotion SPF 50 and their Live Tinted Skin Tint SPF 50 in PR. I did review the Glotion as a standalone SPF in my sunscreen roundup video a couple of weeks ago, and I did enjoy it. But I do want to say, the marketing lines between a dedicated standalone SPF with a little bit of tint and an actual skin tint with a little bit of sun protection can be very blurry. Sometimes I feel like companies try to make these be all things to all people. Now I did try the 1/4 teaspoon of the skin tint and it was way too much on my skin. You know, one of the clues if a product is a skin tint versus a sunscreen is how many shades does it come in. The Hueguard only comes in 2 shades and the Hueguard Skin Tint comes in 13 shades. So to me, for my purposes, the Glotion is a standalone sunscreen that you can put makeup on top of, and the Skin Tint is an actual skin tint with a little bit of additional sun protection. But again, I never rely on skin tints or foundations for my sun protection. It comes in a squeezy tube with a pump. And like I said, they did send me 2 shades, so I will show you both shades as well as the consistency. So here is the consistency, really lightweight serum-y consistency. This one is shade 9, described as light neutral. This is shade 7, described as light medium neutral. Now, interestingly enough, shade 1 is the deepest shade and shade 13 is the lightest shade, which is usually the opposite of how shades usually go. Anyway, really lightweight serum-y consistency. I think you can see shade 7 is a little too deep for me, but shade 9 works perfectly. As far as the claims, Live Tinted says that this has weightless, buildable coverage to protect and smooth skin with all-day hydration and a radiant finish. Lightweight, non-greasy, and water-resistant to 80 minutes. lots and lots of skin-loving hydrators and antioxidants. The lightweight serumy texture glides on smoothly, gives sheer coverage, but it can be built up to a very light medium. It feels moisturizing, does not accentuate lines or wrinkles or dry patches. It is a little tacky at first, but it dries down to a really pretty glowy finish. I do feel like it's undetectable on the skin and very skin-like, which makes it perfect for a no makeup makeup day. Next up is the Make Beauty Diffusion Dew Skin Tint. Now I did receive this in PR and I'm so glad I did because this is not available at Sephora or Ulta, so I doubt I would have run across it. This is $32 for 1 ounce. It comes in 13 shades, glass bottle with a pump, and I have shade 2, which is Natural Light Medium Neutral, which is a perfect shade for me. And it does have a really lovely light serumy consistency. This claims to be a next generation skin tint with skin mimicking pigments, radiant coverage while blurring, smoothing, and brightening. Sheer yet buildable, this lightweight product is formulated with niacinamide, adenosine to enhance skin for a glowing, healthy looking complexion. This is a very beautiful, very natural, everyday skin tint, and I'm so glad they sent it to me in PR because I'm not sure if I would have run across it since, like I said, it's not available at Ulta or Sephora yet. It is available on the Make Beauty website as well as Revolve Beauty. I will link it below. Actually, everything I'm talking about today, all the makeup I have on my face will be listed and linked in the description box below and in the top pinned comment and in YouTube shopping as usual. The original Missha Perfect Cover BB Cream has been an iconic fan favorite for years. I actually tried it several years ago, but I never reviewed it because I really could not find a shade and I felt like it was a little bit heavy on my skin. However, I was very curious when Missha launched a brand new Serum BB Cream. You know, assuming it's lighter weight, and it does come in more shades, and it happened to be 50% off during Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, so I did pick up 2 shades. I picked up shade 23, Light Medium Cool Neutral. I'll show you the consistency and the shades. And I also picked up shade 27, which is Medium Cool Neutral. Again, warm shades don't work on me, so I really like the fact it was a cool neutral. So here is the consistency. You know, I really expected it to be a little bit of a more thin, serumy consistency. This is shade 23. Again, light, medium, cool, neutral. Actually, that's pretty light. And shade 27, medium, cool, neutral. Now, 23 is actually a little bit light for me, but I really like the fact that it is very cool toned. So ultimately, what I am showing you in the B-roll is I'm mixing about 80% of 23 with about 20% of 27. You know, even though it isn't a super thin serumy consistency, it does feel very, very lightweight on the skin. Anyway, I applied way too much in my, I gotta wipe this off. From what I could see, the main difference between the original Missha BB Cream and the new Serum BB Cream is that the original did have added mineral filters and this one does not have any sunscreen, so that's probably why this is a little bit lighter weight. The original did have added fragrance and this is now fragrance-free, although it does have a very light citrusy scent from the essential oils. And this does have quite a few new added skincare ingredients. However, I'm not sure if all that justifies the increase in the price. So the original was $23 for 1.69 ounces and it did come in 7 shades. The new serum is $27. However, it is a smaller tube. It's only 1.18 ounces and this comes in 10 shades. As far as the application, It is a very lightweight cream that spreads and blends easily. It does feel hydrating, and this can be built up to a very solid high medium. It is smoothing and blurring, and it does not settle into pores or lines or wrinkles. It sets down quickly without tackiness. The finish is satin with a really soft radiance rather than glowy or shiny on me. It is very perfecting. Now it does look very natural on the skin, but I wouldn't call it undetectable, but definitely not cakey or makeup-y. This wouldn't be my first choice for a no makeup day, but it is really nice when I want a more polished look. Of all the tints I'm sharing today, this offers the most coverage and is the longest lasting. I really wanted to include a drugstore skin tint, so I picked up Revlon's brand new Photo Ready Lift and Fill Skin Tint. This is $17.99 for 1 ounce. Pretty pricey for the drugstore, and it only comes in 8 shades, which we'll get to in a minute. Now this does have some very aggressive, very unrealistic skincare claims. It's going to completely change your skin in 2 weeks, which I never buy into, so I'm not even going to read you the skincare claims. But the other claims include this will instantly even skin tone, blur pores and imperfection. It will deliver a brightening natural glow. It's hydrating and will not settle into fine lines, wrinkles, or pores. Unfortunately, I disagree with every single claim. Now, I did get shade 2, which is too light, but I did not, this is so awful, I'm not even going to try and find a better shade. But I will show you the consistency. Oh my goodness. The consistency is, I don't know, not too thin, not too thick. Obviously the shade is too light, but the real issue is it is so incredibly metallic. You can actually see visible sparkle and glitter. This is so bad that I am not going to try it on camera because I don't think the camera could do justice to how horrible this looked on my skin. Suffice to say, this exaggerated every pore, every line, every wrinkle, every dry patch. I literally look like a Tin Man. So this is an absolute and utter failure, and I highly recommend that you do not spend the $17.99 on that skin tint. Really, really disappointing. If you are looking for a drugstore skin tint, oh my gosh, you cannot go wrong with the classic iconic Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator or the Wet n Wild Serum Skin Tint. These are both well under $10, and these have been in my favorites for the past several years. As far as the other skin tints, you know, there really wasn't a bad product. I did enjoy all of them for one reason or another. I do plan to update my sort of top 10 all-time favorite skin tints sometime later in the summer, so time will tell if any of these make it into my new updated top 10. Anyway, please share your favorites so we can all help each other, and make sure to pay Cindy a visit. I really can't wait to see what she came up with. And with that, have yourself a wonderful day, and I hope to see you in my next video.